work is important, but it's not everything in the world. I don't need to make as much money out here than I did in the U.S. No. So my cost of living's gone down, and my stress layer of having to make so much money to just survive in the U.S. has kind of gone away. So it's allowed me to breathe and focus on what's important in my life.
What is this place? It looks kind of empty.
It's going to probably be a new co-working spot.
We're in Nimman.
Yeah, in the Nimman area. And we're renting out this whole building. It's our own office that we have where we work out of, but we have smaller offices that we want to rent out. And there'll be probably some day or weekly passes for certain sections as we build this out.
I feel a scent of fresh paint.
Yeah, everything is getting that, it's when you go into a new place, even though there's paint on the walls, but doing a fresh coat makes it feel that much better for whatever reason. So.
And it looks like you have several floors here.
Yeah, there's 4 floors. 4? And we have offices, and each office has its own bathroom and shower.
Okay.
It's in the slow planning phase, and you know, it'll be a cool maybe hangout. We might do small meetups. I think I'll do my art meetups in here when I come back.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay, let's get to it. Welcome. Steve, we're in Chiang Mai. We were both drawn here. What is it about Chiang Mai
that I like?
Yeah.
I think northern Thailand, for me in general, has a combination of a few elements, versus Bangkok or something else. It has the nature and surrounded by mountains. Yeah. And almost everywhere that I've lived, along in California and Oregon, has always had some level of nature close versus the flat, jungle of cement, or just there's
the concrete jungle.
Yeah, or there's no mountains anywhere. So that, to me, the nature and the beauty of that I really love, and the fact that there's a lot of community out here as far as expats, but more on the kind of nomads.
Yeah.
There's a lot of meetups on technology that I really enjoy. When I lived in San Francisco, we had that, but they were spread out every month or so. It seems like out here in Chiang Mai, there's something at least going on once a week that might be specific to what your niche is, right?
Is that something you take advantage of? Do you attend a lot of that?
When I first got here, I attended a lot, and there was an AI art meetup one. And since I have a big background in AI art, I went to that, and it was great for me for networking and meeting new people. Because when you move to a new place, I don't mind being by myself, but, friends, building friendships and stuff is important to me, I don't have much of a family, so my friends become my family.
Yeah.
But one in particular, after the AI art meetings kind of stopped, one of my friends that was doing that moved to another place, is the AI nerd meetup, I guess. It's more focused around engineering.
Yeah.
And every Saturday there is a meetup from 10 in the morning till 12. And it goes over the latest AI technologies, but more on the engineering side of things, like harnesses and models and all that. But it's more a topic comes up and everybody gets to say something about it or bring up something else. So it's fireside chat, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
So that really, for me, it tickles my really more advanced brain of these are the people, this is a room full of engineers. This isn't intro to Chat GPT or whatever. These are high levels. And to have that every week is really important for me to sit around. Because first of all, we can't ingest all the news because there's so much, right? But everybody is doing a little tidbits and and then you hear about somebody doing something some way different. And you're oh, I might try that out. So it's been really good, and Chiang Mai kind of fosters that kind of, meetup and networking and all that, so.
Yeah, I love that. Maybe I should start a podcast nerd group. There might be some people.
There are probably a decent amount.
Yeah. So I joined the local Rotary Club. I used to be a Rotarian, and I was actually a membering when I was in Cape Town. I became a member there.
Yeah.
And then I transferred to this club. There's an international Rotary Club here. I started playing paddle every week whenever I can, and I don't have anything else. And on the more casual side, every Wednesday at noon, we're like 15 guys meeting for a burger.
Yeah.
So it's just a Wednesday meetup. Meet spelled with MEAT.
I might have to join that at some
point.
point.
I'll add you to the group. So it's for guys only. And so it's pretty cool and very, very casual, and you got to eat anyway. So yeah, it's a good way to get out. What else do I do? I try to go to the open mic stand-up thing at the Moat House every Thursday.
Do you do open mic? Because I will go, because I live close to that area.
I don't, but I did it once. I actually, it was a night where there was some of the people, they weren't really very good.
Yeah.
And I thought, I could do a few minutes. So I actually got out of my comfort zone, and I don't know if I'll ever do it again, but it was a good challenge.
Yeah, the Moat House is kind of interesting. On Tuesday nights, they have a reoccurring, the language exchange?
Yeah, I've never been to that.
So,
I've seen they have it.
Yeah, so you kind of wear like a stamp of like what language you want to learn and what language. So like this is one of the keys of what I like about Chiang Mai is, there are these groups, WhatsApp groups. There's also these like websites, and there's always something going on, you know. Anything that like is related to kind of what you're into, you can find something, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So how long have you been here?
In Thailand, it's probably close to my 18th month.
Okay.
But I had
still fairly new.
Yeah. I've been to Thailand several times prior to that. And I've traveled around to all the islands, but when the DTV first came out, and I'd been entertaining the thought of like, what does living in Southeast Asia look like? I'm like, it's a no-brainer, have my own company. I applied, and I got my DTV, and then I'm like, all right, let's go. And I was hired to do some art before I went to Thailand for this island in Thailand on Koh Samui. Mm-hmm. And when I was in the U.S., I created art for like 4 or 5 of their statues. They were about 50 feet tall, and I created 15-minute clips that transform them. So they get projected onto at night by a projector, and I transform them into unique creatures, and they change every 15, 20 seconds. They blink.
Where did you do that?
This was at a place called the Experience on Samui, Koh Samui. It was when it wasn't open. It's like, how do I say it? Burning Man in the jungle, where you have the art, the creativity, and each section of this park has these amazing art pieces and chill out zones and wellness centers and huge statues where I was, contracted, to do that and create art for them. And then when I did that, and then I came to Samui, I was able to see my work on the statues, because it's like I see my work on a tiny screen, but now I'm seeing them on these huge statues at night, which was like amazing.
So maybe we should just go a little bit back and explain what it actually is that you do. You mentioned art a few times and big screens, and now you're talking about statues.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Well, I went to college for a few years and a computer engineer. I finished art school, and then I was living in Dallas, Texas, and there were some video game companies there. So I was taken right out of school, and I would do art.
You're saying computer games, 3D. What year are we talking about here?
93, 2, something.
Wow.
I'd have to fact check.
I didn't even have a PC at the time. Wow.
not much technology, but
Oh, no.
there was Doom, which I think everybody's heard about.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And then there was Duke Nukem 3D, and they were both different style of games, but I started working on Duke Nukem 3D in the early prototyping phases. And then I was then hired to work at Rogue Entertainment, which worked directly with id Software. And we had our offices together, basically. The wall separated our company and id Software. And id Software is the company that did Wolfenstein.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. They've done more.
Oh, that just and people listening, they might not even know what we're talking about here.
This dates back, and
this really dates us.
But then they created Doom, which was like a really popular game, which like created this whole multiplayer thing. And our company was hired to work on using the Doom engine and technology, and we worked on a game called Strife.
And it was so high tech.
Yeah, I mean,
oh my God.
And the computers were dog slow compared to what we have today, but it was very interesting. And we made a game Strife using the Doom engine, the tech, and created an RPG version using that tech.
But you say that you have an art education, and then you're talking about computer. I'm sure that you could use that art skill in computer games, but what was the art education about? Was that like painting on canvas or?
Well, no, right. So as a young kid, I was always able to get a computer like a VIC-20, a Commodore 64.
Oh, yeah.
And then to the Amiga. And the Amigas had 4,096 colors. They had art programs where you could draw I think it was Deluxe Paint or something. And you could draw with 256 color palette, but in art school, I went into the Institute of Art in Dallas, and they started a brand new program for 3D graphics. But I had been doing 3D graphics with the Amiga for a while, using Lightwave and some of that. So I was way advanced, but they had access to the high-end SGI machines. Now, Silicon Graphics machines, and for anybody that doesn't know, they were used to do the rendering and art for Jurassic Park, the early Jurassic Park stuff. But these machines were $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. So students couldn't afford that. So I went to the school knowing that they had a bunch of those, and went through the school and worked with the teachers because, I was way more advanced. They were just learning and being teachers. So I had a lot of time and access to the high-end machines, right? So out of art school, we had to create our demos, and our demos were delivered on VHS tape or a floppy disk.
Oh, yeah.
And my floppy disk had my mailing address on it, and then it's hard to think about that now, but, so I passed out my resumes and all my demo reels, and, I was picked up by this company to work on the early phases of Duke Nukem 3D. So, and then the career, I worked a lot directly with id Software. And then I spun off my own company with some friends from people that I met within that community. There was a lot of small game companies in Dallas, believe it or not, which was weird to think in Texas. And the three of us formed a company, me, Rob, and Ray, and we moved to San Francisco area and formed Nihilistic Software.
And what was the goal with that company?
We pitched some ideas, but we talked to Activision, which is a bigger game company publisher, and they had a lot of intellectual property that they owned. And they're like, hey, what games do you want to build? And Ray really liked this role-playing game called Vampire the Masquerade. I don't want to, it's similar to a D&D thing, but people also act out in real life, these things. And so we chose that IP to make a game out of it. So the game was basically a vampire goes through certain centuries to find his love and do all that.
Did you acquire the IP or did you work for them?
Right. So Activision owns the IP. They license the IP to us. They're like, oh, here's X million dollars, which wasn't much, build a team out of it and build a game. And we won a game in 2 years, and good luck. It was around 12 of us to build a game, and we had a very limited amount of time. And back then, publishers like Activision, they had to already start putting out ads in magazines, right? There's a lead time. So, and then start buying shelf space at the stores. So no matter what, we had to get the game done by a certain date. There was no nowadays you can just we'll ship half a game and when you download it, you should get the other half and all that. We had to do a golden master. It had to be delivered to them. And so then it would show up on the shelf that they buy it, and the magazine ads hit at the same time, and stuff like that.
You currently run 2 very different companies. How are you able to do that remotely?
Yeah, fast forward to now. I mean, I've been through the video game industry. I've retired for a little bit, lived in the mountains, and now I've decided to spend more of my life doing the nomadic kind of thing, living in other countries. When I was moved here, I had my own company, Dreaming Computers, where all my art is done through. So when people contract me, all the art goes through there. But recently, the last 6 months, I've befriended some people here, right, in Thailand. And one has a company called Two Way, which is a pilot association company. And its whole job is to reduce the fragmentation of associations, unions and all that. They all use MailChimp for sending out newsletters. They do SurveyMonkey for surveys. They might have documents in Google Drive or Facebook. It's all, the association has members and all their members are where's this data, right? Is it on Google Drive, whatever. So my friend Gumi from Iceland, he developed this platform called Two Way that puts everything under one hood. So the pilots get access to this and then they could share their information and read what the associations are sending them, right? We had been talking back and forth and he asked me to come in, use my tech brain. I have a huge engineering background outside of art. So my brain is half art, half engineering.
Right and left brain.
Yeah. So I feel I'm somewhere center brain, but what I like about that, the uniqueness, is I can speak on both kind of platforms, and when I was in video games, I was able to talk about art, but also break it down for the engineers. Or if the engineers were saying, hey, we need you artists to do this, I could talk with the art team and this is what they're saying, we're translating it, here's how we do that. But he asked me to come on board, and so I do, roughly part-time for him, because what's important for me is to have my free time, or as much free time. I've gone through many phases and many years of my life where I'm just slave to the grind, and I blink and 5 years goes by and I've accomplished things, which is cool. My work-life balance became out of sync, right? Yeah. So being a digital nomad and all that, there's so much things I want to see and do, in my free time. And that's kind of why I'm out here. There's so much in Southeast Asia to do and see, right? You got to stop and smell the roses. Right. Work is important. Puts a roof over your head, your bills, but it's not everything in the world, and I feel I don't need to make as much money out here than I did in the U.S. No. So my cost of living's gone down, and my stress layer of having to make so much money to just survive in the U.S. has kind of gone away. So it's allowed me to breathe and focus on what's important in my life. And a lot of that is, around exploration, new friends, new experiences, but also, making sure that I am making money. Mm-hmm. So Two Way was one of the companies that I signed on to be the CTO of and help, and we've really pushed forward some of the technology. We're doing a lot of cool stuff, and we have a lot of new stuff planned for this year.
So the founder, is he based somewhere?
Yeah, so he is from Iceland, and his company is in Iceland. So I work for the Iceland company, and he is a part-time pilot.
Okay.
So he flies like half of the year as a commercial pilot.
And you get to fly free, sitting in the jump seat in the cockpit.
Yeah, I wish. There is a potential when he's flying. He does routes to Iceland and to Boston and Denver, and he's like, if I'm ever in one of those routes, I can hop on the plane.
Okay.
So we'll see if that happens.
Yeah.
But
so that's one company, but there's another one.
Yeah, so along the same lines, when I go into a city, I just try to network and I try to find like-minded people. And I usually gravitate towards the artist side of people.
And the geeky side.
Yeah, and the geeky side, but like really high-end geek stuff. And I met Ben Williams, and he's from Australia. So he has a company called Well Inked Memoirs. So the idea with that company is to build technology that allows the extraction of interviews into structured data and then generate memoirs or biographies out of that data. And
like a physical interview, a real person asking questions.
Yes.
It's not AI.
No.
Are you thinking that it could be?
Well, so Well-Inked Memoirs wants to do kind of two things. One will be the higher end interview and interviewee, where we get that really golden gloves or white glove treatment between the client. And then there might be a more of a automated app version that you sit and talk to the app and it asks you questions and stuff like that.
And then what's the outcome?
The outcome hopefully would be a full-fledged biography or memoir about your life that you can share with your friends, or like, let's say you bought this for your parents because they're getting older and you want to like capture that. You could get them to interview, and then you could output like a book, maybe the coffee table book for for their kids and stuff like that. It's just creating memoirs,
Mm-hmm. That's really cool.
I like it. And then I'm also like a fractional CTO of that. So I split my week between those two companies, and then the free time is me exploring and doing other things in art or whatever else.
And then you also create AI-driven visuals, music videos, and large-scale installations. You sort of mentioned a bit about that when you were in Koh Samui.
Yeah.
I've seen your demo reel, and it's so freaking cool, and I have no idea how you do it. That's not Wolfenstein or Doom.
No,
that's really high tech.
I mean, through video games, I was majority on the art side. I wasn't on the engineering side until I kind of taught myself engineering. But AI art 6 years ago, it's 2026 now, I was playing around with some of the brand new stuff that was just starting to appear. I had the right computer hardware, which required a very high-end NVIDIA GPU, and I started toying around with this kind of like trippy, psychedelic visuals. And it was like a bunch of Python programming. I would write some prompts to the very early models, and out would come some sort of weird, trippy, visual 15-second video, but at a very low resolution. And I'm like, wow, this was cool, and I was lucky enough to have the hardware that can process it. So I kept playing with it. I kept fine-tuning it. And as months would go by, newer models would come out, and I would still create like sacred geometry patterns or visuals. And at one point, on my Instagram, I tagged a DJ that I like. The DJ is LS Dream. And I created a visual pattern to his music and tagged him on it. And then within like maybe half an hour, he hits me back on DMs like, dude, we need to do something together. And this is like, 6-7 years ago. And I'm like, awesome, like, what do you want? And he's like, and then he started talking, and we formed a relationship. And what I ended up doing for the first couple of years was creating these small 15-second trippy visuals to some of his songs, right? So he would share the song with me. He wouldn't give me much direction, but he's like, I love your visuals. Here's kind of the idea of the song, like build stuff out of it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. And
then basically give me something I didn't know that I want.
Yeah. And then so I would spend hours and hours and like thousands of clips because there's a lot of iteration time. Yeah. There's a lot of waiting. And, you know, I had 2 machines so I could do twice the amount of work. And then I would hand him these individual clips. But I'm like, well, what are you doing? You know, I mean, I knew what he was doing, but he would put those in the background of his shows.
Huge screens in the background.
Yes. And he was working with a couple other artists. I never saw the final results until I actually went to his shows.
Oh, wow. Right? That must have been something.
Yeah. So, and the first one that I actually went to was one at an iconic venue in Denver called Red Rocks. And it's a very unique area in the middle of these like large red rock area.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there. It's an awesome place. Yeah.
And then I watched the show and I was just completely blown away with seeing my visuals, but synced to his audio, synced to the lasers and synced to the lights. And it was a complete experience that he was like a magic maestro of. And it was just like, every time my clips came up, I pulled my phone out. I'm like, and everybody in the crowd has their phones up. I'm like, you know, that was like, I don't know. It was so rewarding for me.
Was that where you thought, I might be onto something here?
Yeah, for sure. It's something that was just another accomplishment for me. And then indirectly, my art is being shown at this very iconic venue in the United States. It didn't click to me. And I'm like, but I also see all the flaws. And I, you know, as an artist, I'm like, you know, but it's there. And that, you know, that launched me into doing visuals for other DJs.
I guess people who saw that reached out to him and said, how can I get in touch with that guy? Who did this?
Yeah, it's, you know, my Instagram started to slowly, you know, blow up. And then, you know, a year or two would go by. The technology got better. I did a music video for him. It's called Destiny.
I've seen that. We'll put the links to your demo reel and to that music video in the show notes. So make sure to go and see it. It's so cool. And I guess it's more than just writing a prompt and hitting enter.
It's a lot of work. And it's a lot of like trial and error. And, you know, it takes a lot of time to do. And like for a 15-second clip, I would probably spend a week on, you know, so people sometimes don't realize, especially back then, the length it took to do something, to get it fine-tuned and everything like that. And the funny thing sometimes is I would show him all the clips that I didn't like. You know, I gave him a whole pack of things, and I'd give him the ones that I did like. And sometimes he would choose the ones I didn't like. So I'm like, you know, the art is in the eye of the beholder, right? But it was a very extensive process, and it really relied on how high-end your hardware was back then, you know, and still does. But then that led me to other jobs of doing, having art projected onto buildings. We projected my art onto a 71-foot pyramid at Burning Man in the desert.
Cool.
Yeah. So it was like, the pyramid is huge. I mean, you're in the middle of the desert, you know, at Burning Man. And I gave them like, as my gift, I didn't charge them to the people of Burning Man. I, you know, gave them 15 minutes. And they had other artists, and throughout the night they would cycle through that. Yeah. You know, and every now and then I'd ride by on my little bike and look up and like,
in the sand.
I'm like, oh, wow, you know, there's my art. Cool. You know, it's such a cool feeling, and like having something projected on huge surface was awesome, you know. Yeah. And then I continued to work with them and had my art projected in San Francisco on some iconic buildings. Also the San Francisco Ferry Building, a show of a fire and ice dancer doing some kind of, you know, dance routine. So, yeah, and then that eventually led me to the people at Koh Samui reaching out to me.
Now we're circling back. Yeah.
So
and you mentioned the statues. Was that some of your visuals being projected onto the statues?
Yeah. So since I'd been doing like art on Burning Man, that's where they saw it at Burning Man.
Okay.
And then on buildings, they're like, hey, we have these very large statues in Koh Samui. They reached out to me via Instagram, and then we built a working relationship, and they sent me all the photos and all that so I can match. Because with art or with projectors, you have to match the shape and the face and all that. So, you don't have an eyeball on the left side of their head. So, so you had to really be pixel perfect.
Yeah.
And so they gave me one statue, they gave me the ideas and some concept art. And then I spent, the next 6 months building out art that gets projected onto them.
I can see this is something that can take off.
It's a lot of places do that. Like even Chiang Mai has this 360 dome.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they do a lot of sound healing there, and they project 360 visuals, and then everybody lays down, and they have all kinds of sound healing and classes and stuff like that. So I haven't been to it. It's on my list to do.
Yeah. Let me know when you're going. I want to see that.
Yeah. And then the art for me really helps regenerate my mind and thoughts and all that, because I've spent the last 6 months really much more deeper into the engineering side of things, programming, using the LLM models, a lot of the codecs or GPT and all that as advanced. Mm-hmm. But I get really burnt out if I'm just focused on engineering and programming, right?
And it seems like you have a lot on your plate and you're doing many different things. So and now you're building this place here in the Nimman area. So.
But I'm only doing roughly 30 hours a week, give or take.
That's like a Danish week.
Yeah, but I had to like
half an American week.
Yeah, I had to figure that out, because throughout the history of my development in video games and other things I've done in my life, I feel like I've worked 60 to 80 hour weeks. And while I've accomplished things, I've also left out like just the things I want to do in my life or the things I want to see. And what's important to me, I think, throughout all the work I do is having enough time to go and explore and do the things I like. So with the work schedule I have a 3-day weekend technically. So, I mean, I can kind of work whenever I want,
right.
So, or where I want, which is important.
Yeah.
So on the 3-day weekend, I try to just decompress. I hop on my scooter here in Chiang Mai, and I just point a direction and try to ride 40, 50 minutes out into an area, stumble upon amazing temples, food, coffee shops. I mean, the amount of things that you can see when you kind of go away from Old Town and go further into the mountains on either side. Yeah. It's just mind-boggling, and I love that exploration.
So basically, you take a bottle and spin it on the table and see which direction to go.
Yeah, it's cool. And then there are some meetup groups too that are specifically around that. They kind of find these weekend rides, and they're a couple hours long, and everybody gets together. And they go on that. So there's always something in Chiang Mai to do, and that's what I love about this place.
I'll have to add you to the Wednesday meetup group, and you add me to that group, because
I can do that.
I just got a Thai driver's license. I don't have my own scooter, but I plan to rent one and spin a bottle and go somewhere once in a while.
I can give you contact to the best person to rent from.
What's the most fun part of what you do, of the many things? Could you see the 3D art thing taking more over and that becoming more of a thing? Because I feel there's a passion for that.
So on the art side of things, what I'm working towards with everything that I've done several music videos. I'm wanting to build a little short story, like a 15-minute exploration of these characters that I've been building, kind of the sci-fi dystopian thing. And I want to see if I can build out like a 15-minute like short movie or short, I mean, I'm constantly still getting hit up on Instagram and asked, but I'm also know my limits. But if there's something that really comes across that I like, oh man, this is a challenge, right? And what I like is challenges. That's where I'll go and like extend myself and work on something new. So I'm still kind of waiting for that next challenge.
Thank you so much, Steve. And again, I'll put some links in the show notes to some of the cool stuff that you've done, and see you around.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you. This episode was hosted by me, Palle Bo. I also produced it with my production company, radioguru.co.uk.
No has.
The theme music is created by Diviache, aka Divi, the audio nomad.
สวัสดีค่ะ
If you found this episode valuable, make sure to follow the podcast and tell a friend.
No has.
Produced by radioguru.co.uk.